You found yourself on another episode of Locked On Bulls. On today's episode, we're going to be breaking down the Bulls' loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers at home. And then we're going to be cutting to a pre-recorded segment where Pat was interviewed on Locked On Celtics. So we're going to get into all that and more right after this.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily podcast on the Chicago Bulls. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. That's PrizePicks.com, promo code Locked On. That's Pat, the designer, host and creator of the Windy City Breeze. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls and Chicago Bears Central. But Pat, the Bulls, home opener, got dogged, walked. Like, hey, listen, Donovan Mitchell said, me and you, as much as we talk about Donovan Mitchell and how inefficient he is, he went out and said, I'm about to score 32 on 19 shots. How you guys like that?
He was so efficient. It's the most efficient I've ever seen him be in his career. And, of course, it comes against us. Bro, my man's went 10 for 19. He was 8 for 9 from the free throw line, and he was 4 for 6 from the three-point line.
For 32 points, bro.
Bro, like, that's efficient, bro. I can't even hate old buddy. No, it was a bad game. That was a bad game. And I think, like, there's some serious storylines that you absolutely can say come out of this game. Now, the main thing for me, right, we can go through our breakdowns in depth, deep, all that stuff, right? Yeah. But the Bulls shot like it was the second of a back-to-back. Except Zach LaVine. Like, that's to me.
3 games in 4 nights.
3 games in 4 nights. That's how this game looked. I know people are going to look at us and say, you can't give them excuses, but they're human beings. We can say it's beginning of the season. We can say all that. There's a lot of games. But the problem is, right, there's going to be a lot of games like that this season. And so that's the part that is a little bit concerning. DeMar didn't really shoot too much. Vooch didn't really do too much either. Still gave you he gave you 16 and 4 in the game. But, I mean, DeMar basically, he got ejected. He was 3 for 9. When's the last time we saw DeMar take 9 shots? You know what I mean? Like, it looked like the second of a back-to-back. But I think this Cleveland game is where the conversation really starts around the Chicago Bulls power forward position moving forward. And I want to hear your breakdown of what you saw go wrong in this game, but I really want to hear, did Billy Donovan make the first decision in moving away from Patrick Williams in this game?
Yeah. I think when you see him move away from him in the second quarter and then only play 11 meaningful minutes, he got it 6 more at the back end in garbage time. Marco, correct me if I'm wrong, that last stretch, Marko Simonovic got off the bench before Patrick Williams.
Marco got a solid 1 minute. I'm not there. You know, we're not there yet, but he got a solid 1 minute in the game.
But this is what I'll say. Like, I do think that, like, at some point you just have to realize you got to do something. And Javonte hasn't played much better. He played, like, their output was very similar this game. The one thing that makes it better for Javonte is he made a lot of energy plays.
Yeah.
He made a lot of energy plays. The 2 blocks that he had, both steals that he had, a few of those rebounds that he just went out so if you're not getting anything,
so impactful in 13 minutes.
That's very true as well. So it's like he just has to. At this point, you have to try to give your team the best situation. I understand Javonte's coming in. He's a lot shorter. But even Derrick Jones Jr., more effective, more energy than Patrick Williams in his time. So right. I do think that at this point, it's been now, like, Patrick Williams is going to have to fight to get a starting spot back, much less him, like, on the bench. He's going to have his role off the bench. But if you're looking at Derrick Jones Jr. possibly starting to get minutes before you, like, I think Billy Donovan going into the game against Boston, Patrick Williams has an outside chance of starting. If I'm going to put percentages on it, I say that it is 60-40 leaning Javonte, but there's still a chance just with their length and things that he may decide to give Patrick Williams another try. Yeah. But if Patrick Williams is coming off the bench against Boston, he has to make an impact. Like I said, just defensively. At this point, Pat, don't even worry about the offense. Like, he is giving us less impact on the defensive end that he did his rookie season. That's what's more concerning. Not the scoring, it's the regression on the thing that his rookie season. How many people said after playing against the Bulls, oh, that Patrick Williams kid is going to be good. He's a great defender. He's a tough defender. Yep. Ain't nobody saying that nowadays. Like, for you to lose the thing that you did well your rookie season in year 3, that's a concern, brother.
He's not locked down anymore, right? And I don't think that. I think that's the biggest concern to us, right? Like, not that he's playing poor on the defensive end, but it's just not what we were used to seeing from Patrick Williams. We're used to seeing Patrick Williams. You try to run through Patrick Williams. Patrick Williams is like, I'm bigger than you, and you're not going to go that way. And I think that's what's missing. I mean, honestly, right? Like, so you don't think this was just second of a back-to-back? We're going to give him some rest.
It could,
because I mean, he didn't get back in any other impactful time outside of the second quarter.
Yeah.
Nothing in the second half was impactful.
Yeah.
I mean, he got back in with 6 minutes, which the one thing that did piss me off was that you got back in 6 minutes and you took 3 shots there.
Yeah.
Now you want to shoot when it's the trash dudes? Like,
I don't know, bro. Like, I mean, like I said, I am giving it a percentage chance. I know I'm giving it more than what most Bulls Nation did, but like, I don't think it's just a rest on back-to-back things. I personally just don't see it that way, especially when you look at DeMar getting ejected, things like that. But like, I mean, I could be wrong. I could completely be wrong. Like I said, I could be. That's just kind of where my head is right now.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to know, right? I mean, I think the bottom line is here, right? Like, the big takeaway from this Cavs game is the Bulls just shot awfully. Yeah. As weird, because we do have the breakdown with me and John Karalis coming up ahead, where we're breaking down Celtics Bulls. He gives great insight into what the Celtics can do off of the bench, and I'm breaking down kind of what the Bulls are going to be able to do. What do you see from this? Did you
do us justice, though? Is the question that I have.
Oh, I definitely did us justice. Listen, I'm not. I'll never go on any channel and trash my team unless they're just utterly trash. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, no, the Bulls got a shot, bro. The bench defense is gonna have to step up. We got to find some scoring out. Hey, listen, I'm giving us C-Red.
LOB, hold it down.
LOB, hold it down.
All right, go ahead.
How we holding that? I like that. Let's keep that in it. No, when you look at this Cavaliers game and you see Zach LaVine being able to come out 9 for 17. Looking like he was able to move just flawlessly, effortlessly, and adding in DeMar DeRozan with rest, Nikola Vucevic with rest. Do you still feel better about this team coming into this game versus Boston, or does it feel like, like we're heading towards a 1-3 in this situation?
No, I think if DeMar was DeMar, right, and you could tell early on DeMar wasn't DeMar.
He airballed.
Yeah, and that's when it was like, all right, this is about to be real rough unless Zach LaVine about to go for 50. Yeah. But I think when you talk about Zach LaVine did look, not even listed on the injury report anymore, did look good. He moved flawlessly out there. For the people that were like, hey, the Bulls are really hiding another injury, I hope that's gone now. That man was in, and some of the passes he also made in the first, he hit those 2 shots, and then he could tell the defense was going to start zeroing in on him. He hit like this wraparound pass to it was beautiful. I don't remember who it was. That matter of fact, was that where DeMar airballed it? Was that the player?
I think that's the airball. I think he did wrap, kicked it, and I was like, great ball movement. Oh God.
So I mean that I think it adds a lot because we know what DeMar can do usually. He's gonna have games like this, especially when you're starting the season, everything. And people forget too, as much as DeMar does, NBA season is different as far as like wear and tear on your body. So like I'm still very high on this team. I think they have a heck of a test against Boston. At that point, we'll be playing their 4th game in 5 nights. No, 4th game in 6 nights.
6 nights. Yeah.
So we'll see how it works out. But like the thing that concerns me more in this, bro, is that, and I said this over on Central, at one point I thought that Billy Donovan at times was going to do this mass lineup change where it's like 5 in, 5 out. When DeMar, Zach, and Vooch are off the floor, that's when the lead really started getting blown up. Yeah. Do you think that's a result more of the 3 games in 4 nights, or do you think Billy Donovan may not be able to go with not having one of DeMar, Vooch, or DeMar on the floor at all times?
I think that because, right, like everything's blown out of proportion because of the last game. The first 2 games, me and you both praised Billy Donovan's rotations. Yeah. We both praised how Billy was coaching his team. And I still saw a lot of that, but I think a major change came in during the game where Billy Donovan said, I've seen enough. And I think that major change was I have to figure out what the answer is outside of Patrick Williams.
Yeah.
You felt it. When DJJ got in the game, I said Patrick Williams is in trouble.
Yeah.
he's in trouble. His spot might be gone.
Yeah.
And I think DJJ is going to play some on these back-to-backs. I think he's going to play more on these back-to-back situations.
For sure.
Just because you want to give guys rest and stuff like that. But, I mean, DJJ got out there and he gave you what? 16 minutes? 16 minutes?
That's crazy.
We didn't see Derrick Jones Jr. in 2 preseason games.
That's tough, bro.
And he got 16 minutes?
That's crazy. That's crazy.
That's your coach telling you something. That's your coach
definitely
telling you something to me.
Definitely. Hey, he's sending a message, man, and we'll see how Patrick Williams responds to it, bro. You got anything left on this last segment before we go off?
Nah, man. I mean, I guess listen, they're gonna hear me and John break down the game. What's your prediction going into the Celtics game?
I think this is going to be a game that comes down to the wire. I'm saying that the teams are going to be separated by less than 5 points going into the fourth quarter, and it's going to be whoever can step up the most defensively, who can make the defensive stops in this game. And so I'm thinking, I'm sorry, like I don't like betting going against my team, but like just with the concern that I have right now, I'd be disingenuous to say that I can just see the Bulls winning outright. I do think that they can win this game, but they're going to have Boston. It seems like they aren't going to have that beginning of the season lull they had last season.
Yeah.
They in midseason form right now trying to prove a point.
I got to give them credit. Hey, listen, they proved me wrong early, right? Like I said, I thought they would take a step back because of the coaching situation. Looks like I'm wrong. Hey, they came out. They're ready. They got this mug underway. So
for sure.
It's gonna be an interesting game, bro. I think I can pick the Bulls just on the fact that Boston is on a 3-game streak, and yes, they are cooking, but sometimes you overlook teams that come in 1-2 early.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like the Bulls can come out of this 2-2, and not like Boston just plays terrible, but I think we actually can win the game with our full slate of guys on the court all playing together. Yeah. But this is a tough start to your season. You needed to get those games that you should have been able to get in Washington.
Yeah, for sure. Well, guys, next up, we're going to cut to the pre-recorded segment with Pat over on Locked On Celtics. But before we do that, I got to talk to you guys about Prize Picks. We're talking about the game, Boston Celtics versus the Chicago Bulls, and you can bet on that game. You can bet on that game, and you can use Prize Picks to do so. Now, what do we love about, how does it work? Pick 2 to 5 players, and if they will score more or less in their Prize Picks projections, you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport that you watch. It includes NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, PGA, college football, men's college basketball, women's listen, they offer bets on everything. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. Safe and fast withdrawals, currently operating in over 30 states and Canada. So download the PrizePick app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. If you deposit $100, PrizePicks gives you $100. If you deposit $50, PrizePicks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter the promo code LOCKEDON at sign up for instant deposit match up to $100.
Celtics Bulls on Monday night. We're laughing because this is our second try at this intro, but we're going to make it sound like it's our first try. Let's talk Celtics Bulls with host of Locked On Bulls and host of Locked On NBA on Thursdays, Pat the designer. Pat, I ask you again, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. Basketball season's back in full effect. I'm glad that we don't have to talk about what teams could do, that we can actually see it on the court. That may not always work out the best for every team, but hey, we're here.
Yeah. And look, Celtics Bulls, it's always a fun time to face the Bulls. I love Chicago. Chicago is one of my favorite non-Boston cities. Unfortunately, I will not be in Chicago, but the Celtics will be there. And so let's get a grip on what the Chicago Bulls are so far this season, because they're one of those teams, Pat, that is kind of unsure of what they're capable of being. I know they have the injuries. I know Zach LaVine just played his first game. There's no Lonzo. There's the difference between the ceiling and the floor is pretty wide for this team. So give the Celtics fans who haven't been watching the Bulls so far this season a quick synopsis of what they've been so far through 3 games.
I mean, I think you've hit the nail on the head, right? You look at their first game versus Miami, and Ayo Dosunmu looked like, hey, maybe we won't be that bad off without Lonzo Ball after all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Defensively, offensively, he came out. He was aggressive, able to score the bucket, able to knock down the 3-ball, showing that he had worked on something in the offseason, so it made you feel good about it. And then game 2, right? Game 2 was a little bit of a up and down game, right? Started off a little slow, fight your way back in. DeMar DeRozan getting the job done for you down the stretch. By the way, he's still amazing. If anybody thought that there was a lull coming, he's still pretty good. But just excited about, him getting out there. He has a game-winning opportunity. Shot doesn't fall. 2-minute report comes out and says he should have gotten 3 free throws off of the game-winning opportunity. Now you're thinking, okay, we could be 2-0 right now, but then you play last game, your home opener versus Cleveland, Zach LaVine's first game, a back-to-back game, which the Bulls are going to see plenty of this season, unfortunately. And you get your head kicked in your home opener because it just looks like everybody played a game the night before in Washington and then flew back to Chicago, right? So it's up, it's down. We've literally seen everything from this Bulls team here to start the season. And I mean, honestly, right, if you want to get the assessment of what this team is, it's literally what is the supporting cast going to be? Because in 3 games right now, Nikola Vucevic looks amazing. He looks like he's back. He's finally figured out what his role as a number 3 is. DeMar DeRozan looks like DeMar DeRozan did last season. He's still out there cooking. Zach LaVine came back in his first show of action and looks like, hey, guess what, boys? I'm 100% healthy, and I'm going to prove it right here. But the biggest thing that I think everybody around the NBA will question on the Chicago Bulls is, what is that supporting cast going to look like? And that's going to be something that's going to have to be huge when we take on the Boston Celtics tomorrow night or tonight.
Yeah, I think one of the keys to this game, I mean, obviously the Celtics are off to a hot start, but the Celtics bench has been doing work so far this season, and they've been outscoring. Celtics have been winning the bench battles pretty good with, Malcolm Brogdon leading the way, Grant Williams coming off the bench and just shooting lights out. And others, you mix and match. Noah Vonleh will come in and now that Al Horford's going to play in this game. How does Chicago combat what the Celtics can do off the bench? Because look, Celtics have so far starters versus starters. First quarters have been fairly even, and you can see DeMar, and you can see. Let me interrupt myself. Is Zach LaVine going to play?
Zach LaVine is going to play Monday. The latest news that we've got on him is he's good to go Monday. The question mark on Zach is going to be mostly this season. How many back-to-backs is he actually going to play in? And the Bulls, I believe, lead the NBA in back-to-backs this year. So shout out to you, NBA, for setting us up like that. But yeah, no, he should be good to go Monday. You should have your full slate of starters for the Chicago Bulls.
Okay, so then I assume – DeRozan, LaVine, Vooch, those guys are going to be enough to kind of start the game as the Celtics kind of feel their way through it. Yeah, I can see this being 27-24, one way or the other. How does the bench, you talk about the depth, how do they handle things against a pretty good Celtics bench?
I think the biggest question mark with this Bulls bench is going to be the scoring side of it, right? Because when you look at this bench, the one thing that that they're going to provide is defense. I mean, you've got Alex Caruso coming off of the bench, somebody that you guys know, and Javonte Green coming off of the bench, and he is a dog defensively, and he's gotten his offensive game a little bit better this season in the first 3 games. Nothing crazy to write home about yet, but just the fact that he's showing you some offense gets you a little bit excited, and he just wants to jump out the gym against everybody, right? And the Bulls right now are in a little bit of a flux situation, possibly at what could be where Patrick Williams would play. He might be a part of this bench unit. He might be working himself out of the rotation real quick. Only played 15 minutes in last game, had played 11 minutes up to the last 4 minutes of the game. So we really don't know where that's going to be. Javonte could move to the starting unit. Patrick Williams could be the starter here, right? Like, there's a lot of question marks around P. Will right now. But I think with the Bulls bench, right, you're going to see Billy Donovan do what he does with every team. There's going to be a lot of staggering of the bench. He's going to try to even out the minutes as much as he can. And it's the one thing that the Bulls have that I think has really shown through this season. The additions of Goran Dragic and Andre Drummond have really proven to be a great add to this Bulls team. Dragic being able to be a consistent 3-point shooter. Drummond being able to go out there and give you not just solid play, like really good center play. Like I'm looking at Andre Drummond and I'm like, he could still start on some teams in this NBA. And it's literally just because he can't shoot that he doesn't. But he's coming out and he's giving you really good play. And I think that's kind of going to be the focal point of this Bulls bench against the Celtics is, hey, you boys got to come out and you got to give the defense. Drummond's going to give you second chance opportunities as much as he can, but you've got to play better defensively. And you got to get the shots to fall. I think that's the one part, right, where the Celtics bench can score. Like it's not like you're coming out there and you're worried about the Celtic bench going through a 2-3 minute scoring drought. Like they can put the ball in the bucket. And I think that's going to be the part where the Celtics bench is probably the most ahead of the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls can combat with defense, but the problem is bringing the ball back the other way. That bench outside of the first game of the season has struggled to score a little bit.
Yeah, I'm looking at this bench and I'm thinking if it's the Celtics' biggest weakness right now is size. Yeah. They've lacked some size. And I just wonder how the Celtics are going to combat some of that. I've been sitting here like without Robert Williams, we've been trying to go at this piecemeal. Yeah. And I'm just wondering where they put a lot of trust in Luke Cornett. Yeah. Which
former Chicago Bull.
And yeah, pause for laughter. I get that part. But he look, the Celtics trusted him. The Celtics saw enough in him where they said in the offseason, no, we're kind of good. We're not going to go and make these runs at the Andre Drummond types, the Dwight Howards and those guys. So the Cornett's been out with the ankle injury and then slow working back. He got his first taste against Orlando and got dunked on and looked bad in 5 minutes. But I wonder if a slower guy might be the matchup where they use Luke Cornett. I'm wondering if the Celtics try to combat size against Andre Drummond in the second unit, or if they just say, you know what, maybe the best thing to do against Chicago in those Andre Drummond minutes is to try to bait him into trying to do too much and saying, you know what, we're gonna throw Grant Williams out there on you, and you're gonna be like mouse in the house, and he's strong enough. And hey, if he scores on a couple of post ups, fine. But if he takes 6 or 7 post ups and only scores on a couple, now the Celtics are like, yeah, we'll take that trade off because those percentages play in Boston's favor. And I just kind of wonder how you see Drummond, because I feel like he can be easily baited into saying, oh, I got this matchup, because I think he's a very high opinion of himself. Yeah. And I think you can be like, okay, he's going to see matchups that he thinks are mismatches that Boston are like, mousetrap, here's the cheese. There you go. And he's going to take it.
Hey, I appreciate you guys for watching this special episode with a crossover with me and John Karalis from Locked On Celtics. But before we continue with the episode, man, I do have to tell you guys about BetOnline.net. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting football. And with this new start of the basketball season, NBA odds, lines, whatever you need. Find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth analysis of every game. And as always, BetOnline.net remains your continued source for all your sports wagering information with live betting, up-to-the-minute sources for every sport out there. Fastest way to check in on all your favorite games and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today and use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. I also want to thank you guys for making Locked On your first listen every day. Now make your second listen game to game. Every moment, every top performance, every result. Locked On Game to Game covers every game from across the NBA with local analysts that only Locked On can deliver. Follow Game to Game and Locked On NBA, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. No, I think that's definitely something, at least through 3 games, right? And I'll say this, Andre Drummond has played really well for the Chicago Bulls. He's been one of their best bench players. He hasn't done too much very often. But there have been at least, I believe, twice this season where he's got the open look at the 3-point shot and he's tried it. He said he's been working on this 3-point shot for 4 years. So now he's finally getting the chance to unveil it. Maybe we'll see another one here against the Celtics. I don't know.
It's not a July or August in the NBA if Andre Drummond isn't releasing some sort of 3-point shooting.
You know what I'm
video.
saying? You know what I mean? Like let's get it going, man. I love it. But I think the Celtics' biggest advantage towards the Chicago Bulls, even with the improvement that I've seen in 3 games of Kobe White, is that guard position though, off of the bench, right? Like you guys have Brogdon coming off your bench. That's going to be Kobe White can't guard him. Like as much as I've seen improvement from Kobe White can't guard him. And it's not a slight, right? It tells you how good Malcolm Brogdon is. And so I think the Bulls, this is the thing that I've said about the Bulls over on Locked On Bulls, is that the Bulls have really good defenders, but the Bulls have moments where their team defense just doesn't show up together. And so it becomes a very one-on-one type of defense game. And those are the moments a lot of times where teams can build up leads. And I think that's what the Bulls have to worry about most in this game because, Andre Drummond down there, he's going to be able to block some shots if Brogdon gets past him, right? But it's going to be, hey, are you always going to be on your rotation on time? We've seen moments this season where the Bulls rotations look like that. And then we see moments this season where it's like, who's guarding the dude in the corner for the 4th time in a row? Yeah. So the bench unit, I think if your guard play comes out strong in that game, that will be where you more than likely can spread out a lead if there's a lead to be spread, right? Because I mean the NBA is a weird place, right? I was going into the Washington game and I was like, we should win by 10. We lose on a game-winning shot by DeMar. Like this could be the Bulls just lost by 30. This could be a game that goes to double overtime because of the talent in the starting lineup. Like I love these games because it's always the most unexpected game between the Celtics and the Bulls in our history. Like Bulls Celtics history as a whole, it's like why did that just happen? I don't know, but it did, and it was entertaining.
Like the first round series where Rondo was just killing them, and the secret sauce was starting Gerald Green. None of that. Those are actual words that are accurate, and now that I say them in retrospect, it feels like just a gigantic lie.
We talking about the IT dominating coming back and were we up? We were up 2-0?
2-0, I think.
2-0? 3-0? Was it 3-0?
No, it wasn't 3-0. It was 2-0.
Maybe it was 2-0 or got the 3-1.
It was 2-0. Rondo got hurt. They started Gerald Green.
That was the end.
They changed, and then the Celtics came back and won that one.
Oh, man. Some great times. On the losing end for us most of the time, unfortunately.
Not so great, not as great on your end.
I like the 90s. I like the 90s version of
it. One question I ask, and I'll wrap this up and let you go.
Yeah.
One question I always ask when I'm putting my preview together on Boston Sports Journal is, how did the Celtics win? How did the Bulls win? If the Bulls are going to win this game, how do the Chicago Bulls beat the Boston Celtics on Monday night?
Defense. Defensive rotations have to be on point. The one thing that we do know, and I think this is the thing just about the modern NBA, and you can look at most teams that are kind of in the playoff hunt and say this about them, they're going to score, right? I expect Jason Tatum to be able to score. I expect Jaylen Brown to be able to score. Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Nikola Vucevic, all those names that are scores, they're going to be able to score, right? But it comes down to those moments where it gets into crunch time. Whose defensive rotations are going to be the best? And I think that's the one thing with the Bulls where we've seen in crunch time this season in at least 2 of the 3 games, right? The third game, there was no crunch time. DeMar DeRozan gets ejected. It was great. But those are the moments you live for in a blowout, right? Just like somebody cussing the ref out. Like, perfect. That's
At least make it interesting.
At least make it interesting. But no, in crunch time this season, the Bulls have done a pretty good job of getting their defensive rotations together, being able to really make things tough for guys to score, making guys take tough shots from the 3-point line, right? Like that's the method to me that causes the Chicago Bulls to be able to win a game, because there's moments, I mean, even the Cleveland game where we just lost, Cleveland got ridiculously hot. Like, I mean, at one point, I think they were shooting 70% from the 3-point line, right? And they were contested shots.
Mm-hmm.
If you keep a hand in somebody's face, the odds usually will play out that your average is going to be your average in those moments. And so I think the Bulls just have to make sure that they're getting contested shots, because this is a Celtics team. I'm gonna be honest with you. You give them open shots and they will make you pay, not only in the starting lineup, but also from the bench unit. Even Luke Cornett, yes, I said it, even Luke Cornett, if he's left wide open, will be able to drain the three balls. So I think the defense is where the Bulls find their best opportunity to win this game. And the good thing is, right, we have good defenders on this team. It's just a matter of, can we get that team defense consistent?
Yeah, this is a game where it's I think going into the season, if Lonzo was healthy, it would have been, I think, a lot more interesting for the Celtics. I'm my biggest fear for Boston is that they've won 3 straight. They went through this tough game against Orlando, and they see Chicago as 1 and 2, and they say, okay, we're just gonna coast our way through this. We've been, we're good, and it's tough. It's tough to win in this league, and it's tough to string 4, 5, 6 wins in a row. You don't see a lot of those win streaks around for a reason. And the Bulls are one of those teams where if everything goes right, they could be in that mix for, I think, 5 or 6. I don't think they're in that top 4, but I think 5 or 6 if everything goes right. Yeah. But if things go wrong, Bulls, like I said, a lot of variance here. And I just wonder how the Celtics, I wonder how the Celtics are going to handle this. I wonder how the Celtics are going to look at this Bulls team. Or if they come in and they say, all right, we got to make sure that we come out strong. If the Celtics come out and win the first quarter by 12, then I feel good, because the second quarters the Celtics have owned throughout preseason, regular season so far, and I think can own against this Bulls bench. So I feel good about that lead growing. But if they're, I also see the Celtics potentially being down. I mean, Tatum scored 104 points over 3 games. He's due for like an 0 for 6 night from 3 at some point. And I just hope it's not against the Bulls, because you just don't want that to happen.
I'm the opposite. I hope that it is against us tonight, because that's the one thing that I think can happen. Right? I think Jaylen Brown's so consistent. I love Jaylen Brown, and he's just a guy who's like, listen, I'm gonna put up my 25, and we're gonna figure out how the heck the rest of this works. And for me, right, it's just, is Jason Tatum going to be regular tonight, or is he going to be Jason Tatum?
Yeah.
And that really is the question. I think that's the question with the Celtics season finals run as a team as a whole, right? I mean, is Jason Tatum going to be a top player in the NBA that's really, really good, or is he going to be one of the best? And that's the difference in that team.
That is the difference. And no one's going to declare an MVP through 3 games, but Tatum's playing at an MVP level through
cooking right now. Yeah.
It
doesn't make me feel good to know that DeMar DeRozan's probably going to be guarding most of the game coming into this.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. Pat the Designer does an amazing job at Locked On Bulls. Also on Locked On NBA on Thursdays. So I host on Wednesdays with Jake Madison. Pat hosts on Thursdays with Nick Angstead. So subscribe to both podcasts. Always listen to the other team's podcast, and you're going to have fun listening to Locked On Bulls. Pat the Designer, man, appreciate you coming on. First time on Locked On Celtics. I appreciate you coming on, man.
Appreciate you for having me on, man. Appreciate you for having me on.